Hey, good morning. All right, let's see. So gratitude and grief. Um, yeah, there's a lot of grief these days. Stress, upset, disappointment, but grief in particular. I know on the island I live on, it's not a metaphor. I actually live on an island. Um, there's been some heavy duty losses in the community, and grief is just up for people. And its relationship to gratitude is, I think, is interesting. I've been thinking about it, and so first of all, no, none of this any practice you have around it isn't designed to make the grief go away. I think that's one of the illusions that somehow the grief is. Grief is certainly less enjoyable than gratitude as an experience. No one's looking for grief, but it's part of the deal. I mean, if you imagine life where there was no possibility for grief, that that would, if you imagine that you didn't love anything enough to grieve over its loss, what is that? How is that a desirable life? So, on one hand, grief is the other end of the stick from gratitude. That there's what we're grateful for, and then we grieve over the loss of that which we're grateful for, and which leads us to the opportunity to be grateful that it existed in the first place. So I think there's a lot to unpack, but the first thing to practice, or the way to practice, or what we're going to practice this morning anyway, is just being with the grief as grief, being with the experience of it and allowing it to be and allowing it to sit and noticing it and feeling it and sensing it and getting an experience of it in the body. And then seeing if we can't also at the same time allow the gratitude for whatever that is that we're grieving for. Allow the gratitude for it's having, if it's grieving over a loss, then it existed at some point, and we can in fact have both. It is not about losing one, it's about holding both in the present, with the acknowledgement that without one the other doesn't exist. So none of that's like, oh, okay, now I understand. That helps. No, it's not about understanding it. It's about taking the time to really experience it. So let's give it a shot. Okay, when you're ready, you can close your eyes, settle into the body. Maybe roll the shoulders. Feel your feet on the ground, your butt on whatever it's sitting on. And coming to a posture and position that's home for you. Allowing your awareness to just gently scan through the body. Any part of the body that catches your attention, you can just rest your awareness on that body part till it feels like it's okay to move on. And bringing awareness to the breath. Noticing the rhythm, the pauses, the activity, observing, sensing, feeling what it feels like to sit and breathe. Anytime the mind wanders, you can always come home to the breath. Getting clear for yourself about your intention for this practice today. If you do have any intentions, just allow them to be. And when you're ready, you can bring to mind the person or the situation you're grieving over. Notice the body sensations that come with grief. Where in the body do you experience this? And what is the experience? Get interested in what is this experience? What does it feel like in the body? Is it warm or cold, heavy or light? Does it have a color or a shape? What are the sensations of grief in the body? You'll notice the sensations are very different than the story about the grief, than the narrative of the grief. Both are valid. There's definitely a valid narrative of the grief. It's just distinct from the sensations. And we're just going to sit with the sensations. And I know the sensations can be difficult to be with, and they're uncomfortable and unpleasant. Just stay with them, gently holding yourself, holding the person or situation you're grieving over, and allowing yourself to experience the experience of grief. No rushing through it or moving on from it. If the mind wanders away, gently acknowledge without judgment. Come on back to the sensations. Come back to the experience of the grief in the body. As you allow yourself to experience the grief, and observe what the experience of it is for you right now. And you can acknowledge this is how it is for me right now. This sensation here in my body, this sensation is how it is for me right now. And as you sit with the grief and the experience of it, you can turn your attention to the loss. Look at the beauty, the magic, the love of what is lost. And it is possible to look just beyond the loss. Is there any gratitude that you can experience for having had it in the first place? For all your experiences that led up to the loss? Are there any you're grateful for? If there is, you can notice the experience of gratitude. Just where do you feel that? And what does that feel like in the body? Does that have a separate color or weight, temperature, size, shape? You can just notice that there's both grief and gratitude available. You're allowed to have both. You might notice that you can't not have one without the other. They're both available at all times. You can sit with that for as long as you like, feeling into it. You can always come back to it. But for now, when you're ready, you can wiggle your toes, open the eyes, come on back. Thanks for being here today. I think that's a useful practice. I'll be here tomorrow. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Namaste, motherfucker.